I just want to manage expectations. It's not going to be of the level of what we just witnessed. That was incredible. So I'm going to do my best and try and show some cool prototypes and concepts and experiments we've been working on. Hey everyone, I'm Walid. I'm a software creative at Nothing. Mostly looking after experimenting with new kinds of technologies on the software side and working closely with the hardware team on trying to build interesting integrations. The talk is going to be less of a talk and more of just me showing interesting stuff. So it's called Nothing in Progress, no pun intended. But I'm going to try and hopefully show you the way we think about the projects we take on. A bit of context about us, for those that don't know. So we're a consumer electronics company based in London. We have mostly been building smartphones and audio products, so earbuds and headphones. But we're also in the background experimenting with all kinds of interesting form factors. We also have a side of the company that's based in China. We recently opened an office in San Francisco. And we've got stores a bit everywhere, but one in Soho, so a few minutes away if you guys want to check out the products. I think I wanted to kind of have this idea of touching on a few concepts that form as the basis of the way we think about the experiments we take. The first one is this idea of openness. So we have transparency quite a lot on our phones. So this is a sort of design language trait that we've adopted for our hardware. But we also think a lot about openness in the way we design our software. So there's this cool video that we've actually shared on our YouTube channel more than 5 years ago now. And I think it's a really cool video, so I just wanted to play it here. But it sets the tone for the way we initially thought about building the company, building the products, and how we approach the upcoming set of devices we're going to be releasing.
It's easy to make something. Even easier when it's just like the thing before it, and the one before that. But like all good things, this one starts from scratch. No notes, no blueprints, no map to find our way back. We're rethinking everything, from what we make and how we make it, to what goes in and what goes out. A giant reset button for all things innovation. And so we go, confident that what's in reach isn't worth reaching for. We know, because we tried reaching a little further, and came up with nothing.
So I think it's a pretty cool video. It echoes some of the calm technology concepts that were initially surfaced in the end of the 90s, mostly touching on the fact that we need to build technology that kind of lives at the periphery of our attention rather than just demanding more and more of us. And it seems like we kind of looked at this concept and decided to go the complete other way. So we now have screens everywhere all the time. Wake up to screens, we work in front of screens, we even relax to screens. We're even now just all watching a screen. So it's pretty sad, and this idea of trying to go back to the roots, going back to the foundational pieces, going back to nothing is something that we're trying to work on. And this pairs quite nicely with, I would say, probably something that feels a bit opposite to this concept, which is the idea of fun. But pairing both can allow us to create experiences that at the same time feel quite open and in the background, but also make you feel something whenever you interact with them. So I'm just going to quickly switch to this view here. So this is actually live mirroring this phone that's over here. So this is showing the front. And then I built a little tool that allows me to listen to what we call the glyphs on the back. So the glyph is a system of lights living on the back of the phone. And the whole idea behind it was to try and allow us to just step away from having to constantly check our screen to know what's going on. So we can just place our phone face down and let the glyph language keep us up to date with what matters. And this can also be used in loads of different fun ways. So this is our phone 2 that we released almost 3 years ago now. Probably still one of my favorite devices. And in here, we've got our latest release, which is the 4A Pro, which has got a bit of an updated version of the glyphs. So in here, this is 12 LED strips that can be mapped to different software triggers. And in here, we have what we call the matrix, which can be used in all kinds of more interesting ways to actually form shapes and even text. So in here, we have our home screen. It looks really different than anything else you might have seen. It looks really different than what you would get on iOS or other Android-flavored systems. It's less of a candy shop. It's more subtle. We just really embrace the monochrome aesthetic. But also, we have some fun stuff. So in here, I have this little guy that's actually tracking my steps. And we can actually probably like fake him into thinking that I'm walking. But in here, I also have some, the earbuds I have connected, really interesting play on the widgets, redesigned language overall, so even the quick settings are different. But I want to show you a few interesting first-party apps that we've built that I actually really like. The first one being the weather app. There's no business in the weather app being boring, so we could do something more interesting with it. So in here, it's us really embracing this aesthetic that we've got. Also, just really nice play on the diagrams here. So checking the weather can actually be fun. Then we have our recorder. So we have an actual sort of simulation of a physical tape recorder over here, which is quite fun. And I can actually interact with it the same way I would interact with the real one. So I can actually rewind it and replay a specific part. And here you had the sneak peek of the lights on the back of my phone lighting up, which leads me to showing probably my favorite experience that we have on our phones, which is the Glyph Composer. So this allows anyone to compose their own ringtone, and this ringtone gets mapped to the glyphs on the back. So whenever someone calls you, you can make it an actual show. And we have a bunch of different sound packs to choose from. So this is one of them. This is another. And so this is my favorite. So I could actually come in and record a specific ringtone. And that could be played again. Okay, and it's quite fun when each user kind of like uses their personal device to interact with the system. But it's even cooler if we decide to really embrace open source and open that up to anyone, and let just the community create whatever they've got in their minds and make it available for others to experience. So we're doing this with exactly this, with the ringtones. So I went online and I found two really interesting ringtones that I want to show, because the community is absolutely incredible. So the first one is Better Call Saul. And the second one is even more upbeat. It's Jojo. Look at this. So just fun all around, and this is really what we try to do here with what we build. Try to bring some freshness to hardware, to software, to design. And really try and make people feel something when they interact with our product. So enough with this phone. I just want to quickly show also how good the Glyph matrix is and how much we can do with it. So I've got a little simulator here that allows me to send all kinds of interesting patterns to my phone. So it could go from just static patterns to just crazy ones, to ones that slowly move around. But in the future, we can also think about this acting as a really interesting surface for whatever intelligent system we want to have on the phone, and the way it can communicate with us through a completely new medium rather than necessarily just going through text or visuals. So Glyph can be a really interesting surface to play with. So in here I've got a few states mapped to the Glyph matrix. This is showing how we could get to know that the system is just thinking about what to do. Here it could be listening, could be actually searching like an actual radar, could be speaking, or could actually just be done with a single task. So we could really think about just putting our phones down, not being distracted constantly by what's being shown on the screen, and letting this low resolution display keep us in the know. So yeah, so this is a bit about the design language and how we initially started. So these are some extremely early experiments with how the widget system could look like. It kind of mixes this sense of transparency, quietness with the monochrome aesthetic, but also a bit of fun, with these visuals. So I think this is how quite a lot of us feel about AI today. And I really initially didn't want to make this about AI, but I'm going to show a few things that we've been doing with AI that kind of makes fun AI and the hardware. And I feel like, in a way, the industry has been moving in a direction that feels quite impersonal with implementing AI features. It seems like if we imagine a sort of spectrum, on the far right you have what a lot of the Valley is pushing for, just more and more autonomy. So you delegate a task, the system is just going to do it perfectly and then eventually come back to you. And it's quite sad because we get a lot of satisfaction from actually doing the thing ourselves and being part of the process. So it begs the question, why can't we actually design tools that feel more like instruments? Why can't we design tools that really put us front and center, allowing us to slowly, just tweak parameters, look at the output, come back to the starting point, until eventually together we can get to a really good result. And I really liked Patrick's also just evolution of how initially it was all about agents doing it all to eventually having humans also being part of the process, which does give us a lot of satisfaction. So we've been doing similar things at Nothing. Some of them made it to production, and some of them are still being worked on. This is a feature we shipped last year called Essential Search, which is basically a sort of powerful agentic search. But the whole idea behind it was to avoid having to push people to go to a specific app. We really wanted to try and get that into the base operating system experience, given that we're lucky enough to be working on the actual hardware and the software. So in here, this is the universal search panel. You just do a swipe up from wherever you are on your phone, and then you land into this interface where you can search through your device, but you can also search the web and eventually also carry out all kinds of interesting actions. And Jelena here actually pushed for us to include the resting bitch face of Louis XIV, which is also a way that actually made it to the keynote, which is actually a really fun way for us to showcase what this can do. And yeah, moment of fame. And in here we have also really interesting iconography and all kinds of templates that we've been working on. But then when it comes to how we want to actually just incorporate AI into our phones, we don't have to really go down the boring path and just make it a generic assistant. We can do way more, and we can really try and leverage the whole software operating system experience to allow this intelligent system to kind of like even step out of specific boundaries that we have today. So today interfaces feel extremely static, and even here on this home screen, it seems to follow a sort of grid. But this is kind of like a bit of a direction that we can take, where we can allow the system to step out and break whatever boundary we set. So this is a set of really fun, faces. And here are some other concepts showing how the assistant could be integrated onto a home screen and react in fun ways. Then we decided to also continue doubling down on this path and tried to see what it would feel like if every single person could have their own personal assistant, something that really feels like theirs. So we built a bit of a prototype of an onboarding flow where we took users through a bunch of questions. Each question was meant to try and piece something about their personality and what they would enjoy in an assistant. And it was actually quite fun. So we took a few people across the company through this process, and the reactions were just priceless. We always got really fun reactions whenever people would, in a way, unbox their own assistant that had its own gender, personality, voice. It was just a lot of fun. And so this kind of like is a direction that we're thinking about. It needs a lot of testing, but it's quite fun just even thinking about this. Then I guess onto something a bit more like serious. In order for this kind of system to actually be valuable, we needed to just deeply get to understand us in a way that will allow the system to behave in a personal way. And so we've been experimenting with the idea of just persistent context and leveraging a lot of the data that we can have from the physical device to get to piece together this like picture about the users. And this is a bit of a just internal tool that we've built to allow us to visualize this information. So what I've got here is a little map, which is a map of me in a way. We've got like big groups such as the people, my taste projects I'm working on, brands I interact with, and then places. And in here I have a little panel that actually keeps my agent aware of my dynamic context. So it all comes from my phone, so it knows what I'm listening to, it knows what's in my calendar, the apps I've been using, the app that's currently open, which device I have and what state the device is in, and my physical location. And all of this gets used by the system to, in a way, be capable of understanding what I'm doing and help me in the best possible way. So in here, I'm just going to quickly dive into this map. So these are brands. If I click on it, I land into this madness here. But this is like a lot of the brands that I've touched based on all the data that the system knows about me. I can actually navigate through them with Vim shortcuts, which is really fun. But we can see here what the actual memory is about. And we thought about doing also something cool, which is to start to make sense of images. So I can feed a lot of the images in my camera roll to my system, and it can also extract information from them. And we thought it would be fun to try and see what it would look like if we visualized the images on top of this map. So in here, I can see, in a way, which images I fed to the system that ended up into here. So if I click on this one, you produce electronic music with hardware like the Teenage Engineering P0128, which is quite cool. And then this is where we take all of this information and let the system try to predict things that could be interesting for me to consume. And it's quite fun because I've always been quite skeptical in letting AI systems come up with predictions. Like the moment I know that something is AI generated, I kind of like automatically just discard it. But in an interesting way, like feeding a lot of my persistent context that comes from quite a lot of my data, as well as some of the dynamic context that comes from my phone, and the idea that I'm not telling it to give me productive stuff to do, but I'm letting it just like inspire me and give me like interesting music to listen to or YouTube videos to watch. It's been quite fun. Like the recommendations, we've been finding that the recommendations have been a lot more personal. As an example, a few weeks ago, it suggested I go attend a synthesizer workshop And it turned out to be an amazing workshop, and I would have never searched for synthesizer workshops happening in London next weekend by myself. But just the fact that the system is capable of suggesting things made it extremely interesting. So I guess this leads me to my last slide. I have 9 slides. But the whole idea is, in a way, like we are at the point where we have this really interesting piece that is the whatever intelligence we have. And it might be the time where this idea of calm technology can actually happen. So for 30 years, we actually couldn't make it. Like, even if we wanted to just think about designing systems that could just run in the background autonomously and then come to us whenever it just needed our immediate attention, it wasn't really possible. Until now, in a way. And what we have is just, what's exciting is that it's just the start of something really interesting to come. This is where we're actually trying to play. So yeah, we're really trying, this demands new design thinking. And in a way, at Nothing, we're trying to think about that. So if this is of interest, we're hiring for engineers and designers and all kinds of cool people. So feel free to come. There's a bunch of us here, and we've also got some of our hardware. So if you want to also play with that, just feel free to come to us. And thank you.